Hi guys, in this lesson I'm going to talk about how you can build your own chord voicings, just starting with the third and the seventh of each chord. You probably already know that in jazz music the core sound of the chord is determined by the third and the seventh most of the time. So it's a natural thing to start building chord voicings from those two notes and then adding notes on top of them, so that you can really hear, okay, this is what the chord sounds like and this is what it sounds like if I add this extension or this melody note on top of it. This is going to help you train your ears and really get the sound of extensions, but it's also going to give you some overview of how that chord fits and how you can, which extensions you have in that area, and also what melody notes you can harmonize. So it's going to help you harmonize melodies when you want to harmonize a standard melody or something like this. In this lesson what I'm going to do is I made a 4-bar progression in the key of F major, and I'm going to go over these third and seventh voicings, so just a simple one for these 4 bars, and then I'm going to add different melodies to it and show you how you can use that in a musical setting, and also show you how you can, what options you have and how you can make some nice melodic movement, because I think one of the advantages also that you can pull out of an approach like this is that you really think more melodically when you're comping. So you just have this sort of very simple basis that you can start from, and then add a melody on top of that, which is going to determine the real sound and the real flow of the chords you're playing behind the soloist. So let's just first go over that progression. So the progression in example 1 is basically just 2 turnarounds in the key of F. So first it's 1, 6, 2, 5, and then it's 3, flat 3 diminished, 2, 5, 1. So the core progression would be this. So that's fairly simple. I would not really expect anybody to have too much trouble playing this. Of course, make sure that you can relate it to the chords that are there. Just to clarify that, here's example 2 where I'm adding the bass notes under it. So that's this. So that's the basic progression in this area of the neck. I think it's fairly easy to oversee. And the next thing we need to look at is what kind of melodies can we put on top of it. The first thing we're going to do is to add a melody note on the string just above the 2 notes that we already have, so on the B string. And that would be example 3, that's this. So that's really simple. The next thing we can do is to, instead of using the B string, we can add it on the high E string. So we're getting these spread out voicings, but because if the melody is moving in a natural way, then that will take care of itself, and the voicings that we have moving in the middle set of strings are already moving in a way that makes sense, so we don't have to worry about the spread out voicings connecting with each other. That sounds like this. So that's 2 places we can add notes on top of our core voicings here. Let's just have a look at what we can actually do. So if I take for each chord in the progression, take the core and then add some different notes that are going to fit within that position, then you have an overview of what's possible. For the first one, that will be this. And I'm not really concerned with, like, we have one double here, and you kind of have to really think this note in there, otherwise it's going to sound like an A power chord. But it's, in the context, it's going to work okay, if it's melodically it's moving okay. And I'm leaving out the fourth because that sounds like this. And I'm going to do that in all the examples. I'm not going to take in notes that don't sound good with a chord. So the next one would be the D7, that's this one. And here we have those voicings. And of course, like fingering wise, you can sort of approach that in different ways. I'm definitely not really consequent about it. It's whatever is going to fit in the context. So I think keep that in mind when you're playing it, and for the rest, just try and use it, see what happens. I think your fingers will probably know the way by themselves pretty much. For the G minor, oh yeah, maybe on the D7 also, I should mention that I'm using, it's a D7 resolving to G minor, so I'm using harmonic minor on it, and then I added the sharp 9 because that usually works well in the context. But for the rest, what I'm thinking in terms of scales is just G harmonic minor over D7. Okay, the G chord, the G minor chord. And the C7 chord. I'm using two different kinds of C7 because you can use a C7 without alterations, and you can use a C7 that's also using the harmonic minor sound, for instance. I could have used altered also, but now I used the harmonic minor. So first the C7 without any alterations. And I chose to add this sort of a bit stretchy one because I find myself using it once in a while if it's in part of a melody, like it works okay. So maybe it's not the most beautiful voicing if you're just playing that for 4 bars and for a whole bar in a ballad. But if you're playing a melody, then it works. Okay, and the C7 with harmonic minor, using F harmonic minor. And for the A minor 7, and then for the A flat diminished, which is the last chord. So A flat diminished, I already made a few lessons actually where I'm talking about this. The scale that I would use in this is A harmonic minor, because that's the scale that contains this chord and is most similar to F major. That would be, or you have two choices. Harmonic minor is the one that I use the most. So A harmonic minor, or you could use C harmonic major. They will both work. They both contain that dim chord, and they are very close to F major. So just as a final example, here's a more moving melody on top of that progression using the voicings that I just went through. So sometimes in example 6, when you start out with having 1, for instance on the C7, I start out with having this voicing, which is a C7 with a flat 13 added, and then I just add the root on top of that, and actually it becomes a 4-note voicing, not a 3-note voicing, even though until now I've really only been talking about adding 1 note on top of this 3rd and 7th of the chord. But if it fits, then you can just leave it ringing, of course. And you can also add 2 notes on top of the chord. But since I'm sort of approaching this from this idea of thinking melodically, then it makes more sense that you focus on just having this and then add the melody. And if you have the option just to leave a note ringing, then you can do it. But I wouldn't worry too much about adding 2 notes at the same time. It's not that you can't do it, but you're going to get more static voicings, and you're also going to end up with voicings that you probably already know. So for that, it's a good exercise. But I think the musical way to approach this is to just try and see if you can make a coherent melody that fits with what's going on around you in the piece that you're playing at the time. I think that's a much more rewarding way to work with it. So that was some examples of how you can build your own voicings from this core of 3rd and 7th for each chord. I think it's a good way to really get into playing from what's happening around you and playing from what sounds you like. So in this way you're really sort of developing a taste for what extensions do I like, what kind of melodies do I like while I'm playing chords, and that's gonna develop your ears and develop your taste, which are two important things to work with when you're working on playing jazz guitar. It's also really close to how I try to think when I'm playing. I mean, sometimes you will take like a melody as a starting point. Of course, also sometimes you want to hear a certain type of voicing and stuff like that, but this awareness of how it sounds is developed really well from this, I think. It's something that I've done quite a lot, and I do really often when I'm playing. If you want to download a PDF of the examples I went over here, then you can go to my website. There's a PDF download in the article that accompanies this lesson. If you've never seen any of my videos before, you can of course subscribe. I make a new lesson every Thursday, and I've been doing this for 1.5 years now, so there are quite a few lessons already that you can check out. When you're on my website, if you want to download the PDF, you can of course also subscribe to my newsletter if you want to stay up to date with other stuff that's happening. If I'm publishing new lessons in my web store, or if I'm appearing on an album, or touring or playing a concert somewhere. If you have any suggestions for topics or comments on what I'm doing, things I should do differently or better, then you can leave a comment on this video, of course. And you can also do this by connecting with me on social media. So I'm on Facebook and Google Plus and Twitter and Instagram. So if you have any comments, then please let me know. It's nice to get feedback from you guys so that I know what to do and what I should do differently and stuff like that. So that's it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.